So I'm queuing up the next example, and I just want to show you how to get there. I'm gonna comment out some stuff. So Control Kilo, Control Charlie, and that will comment a whole block. I'm going to stop right there. I just wanted to show you how I did it. All right, so I commented out a different way of declaring an arrays of strings, and I'm going to show you where you can do basically the same thing. Well, the values are different. I should probably use exactly the same values just to be thorough about this. So this is a little bit more insight now. Ready up the demo, right? You have to paste this in correctly. This is where things get messed up. This is why you don't do things live. So whatever. All right, where am I off here? Probably off by a quote or something. Right here. It's the kinds of errors you want to look for when you're doing this. So this is what's the name for this? An array initialization list or something like that. There's a specific name that I'm going to pause and look up because it changes from place to place. Okay, the reference I found called it array initialization. I usually call it an initialization list, and the spacing doesn't really matter. I'm trying to make it all fit on the screen, but let me just do this. Of course, somebody's going to start messaging me. I need to mute that thing before I start. I just want you to see this is just for space reasons and readability reasons. But you can fit it all in one line like this. The spacing doesn't matter. I don't know why I've got space there. Anyway, this is a way of creating and initializing the values of the elements of an array. So you just say what kind of an array it will be. It's going to be a string array. What's the name of the array? I'm going to call it words again. And then you just, inside curly braces, you list comma separated the values of each element, starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So still an array of size 5 in this case. The length is inferred from what you put in there. So the exact values of each element are not inferred, but they're defined. And then you infer the size of the array by how many elements you put in here. So it's fixed at the size 5. I've got 5 things. The array size is 5. You can always verify that. By the way, I'm just going to show this. I don't think I've shown this trick yet, but you can look in the debugging when you're doing this stuff too. But message box dot show words dot length. I might need to toString this. I'm not sure. Yeah, I will. Dot converted to a string. So when I run this, you'll see. First thing it will do is tell me the size of the array after I click the button. 5. And then it shows me each element. Well, it shows me all the elements together in one string because that's what I do here, right? I still have the for each and I still build the whole thing. Just like the last one, I'm just showing you an alternative way of doing all this. So if you know what the values are ahead of time, and you don't always do, but if you do know the values of all the elements, at least what they start with, and you know like it will be just that size, like 5 in this case, then or fewer, then you can create the array that way. And after that line where you create the array, declare and create it without new. See, new's not needed. Just compare it. You don't need all this stuff. The size isn't needed. It's inferred. After this point, it works just the same way, even though you created it using a different looking syntax. So that's an initialization list. There's different names for it, but it's an array initializer, I think sometimes they call it. But that's another way of doing it. There's a couple alternatives. You can also set the size of the array and then just do that many things. So and I never use this syntax, as a matter of fact. There's probably a good reason to use it sometimes. Equals new string. In this case, it's an array of size 5, so we put 5 here. And I never do this, but apparently it works. You get squiggles for a second, right? But then it catches up. Pros and cons of doing it, I'm not sure what the pro there. Probably because you can like set it to a certain size and then put fewer things than that in there so it doesn't infer the length. I got distracted by dog things. So one other thing you can do is infer the type even. So let me show you an example of that. This is really weird. So, and I don't use it a lot. It makes me nervous, but it's got its uses. So the way you would do it is bar. This is just a generic variable, and this is something that's kind of recommended. I haven't done enough everyday Visual Studio, C# programming to get used to this, but you use the word var, just say you're generically creating a variable, and then the name of the array, so you don't have to put the brackets here. And you use the new keyword, and then you do have to show this an array by putting brackets there. And then you use an initialization list. So in this case, we're using words again because I don't want to change the syntax that follows down below. So I'm going to just make up a couple or three. So apple, pear, and banana maybe. I don't know. That works. Still got squiggles probably because of the semicolon, I hope. Still called words. I don't have it declared anywhere else. Let's see what happens now. Oh, it's running, that's why. Whenever that kind of happens, like, just make sure it's not because it's still running. Oh, I haven't closed off, that's why, right there. Comma banana. Oh, period. This is where I should probably edit, but I won't. You can see me make mistakes sometimes. I'm not perfect, and that'll help you like figure out how you make mistakes. I just look, what's wrong here? There's squiggles. Oh, there's a period because I've got glasses on and can't read, and I hadn't closed the quote either. That was also bad. But now you see it works just the same. So what this is doing, this is not like in some other languages where you can just sort of work with loosey-goosey types like Perl and sometimes Python. What you're actually doing is you're creating, I think Python's similar this way too, but we won't get into comparisons to other languages. What you're doing is saying you're creating a new variable of a certain type, and that type is going to be determined by the specific things that are here. You can really do this with anything, by the way. Var number gets to. Now you have a variable called number that's of integer data type. Why is it an integer? Because it infers that the data type is integer from the fact that this is an integer literal. This is the same thing going on here. It's just inferring what the type of array it needs to be from the individual elements that you've got listed in the initialization list. They're every one of them's a string. So words is an array of strings. It's not some like loosey-goosey indefinite type. It really is a string. It just gets that information from the data that you put on the right hand side. So var allows you to do that. It's like, I don't know what this is yet, but I want to find out what it is from this over here. This is more useful, more complex programming than what we're doing, but it's something you might see. So I kind of wanted to show it in this example, especially since I think this is the last example before we go over like rectangular arrays and stuff. Just read the book if any of this is unclear. I just wanted to hit the high points anyway. But that's it actually. So we'll talk about rectangular arrays next.